Please give a warm welcome to Stellan, Skarsgård, and Joachim Trier. Oh, that's not for you, Stellan.
That was
Thank you.
No, that's not for you. What an honor to have the two of you here. One of my favorite movies, and to have you here is just amazing. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having us. And what a full cinema. Nothing makes me happier. Thank you all for coming.
I'm going to start. There's so much I want to ask the two of you. I want to start right away with the idea of the house and the way, in particular, the way you shot the house. You create patterns, emotional visual patterns, repeating different time periods throughout the movie from a key angle that gets repeated. And what it does is subliminally creates for us a sense of memories as we watch the movie. Can you tell? That must have been really difficult to accomplish.
Well, thank you. What you just said there is what we're kind of trying to do. I think that place is very tied to a sense of identity, right? Where are we from? Our memories are tied to spaces. I often think if I have a memory of something that happened to me or in a family setting, I don't remember the chronology, you know, maybe I remember what season, was it winter, was it summer, but the place is the constant, you know, and even if you move away from a place, it can still appear in your dreams as if it's still a part of you. So it's very tied to identity. And the idea of the house came very, very late in the writing process. We started with, you know, characters and themes and stuff, and then suddenly the house made it kind of stick together, because the way you make films anyway is kind of what you were talking about, that a lot of what we experience in film are the repetitions of spaces, the patterns that we don't talk about so much, and maybe it's not so conscious, but it's the mood and the sense of place. So we could play with it literally through this house.
But the brilliance of what you and your cinematographer did is the understanding that and conveying those patterns that, so, I mean, as I mentioned, the audience subconsciously is like, I know this place, I know these people. You actually were like inputting memories in our brain by the way you shot.
If I did, I'm very happy. Yeah. But it's also something I talk to the actors about a lot. That it's particularly you. We talked a lot about what those rooms meant, and the fact that you grew up as a character in that house and then moved away and came back and all that. So, yeah, it also meant something for the dramatic purpose of the characters, I thought.
Stellan, what a brilliant performance, and in an already legendary career. What I love about your character is that his cinema language. I mean, we saw the film within the film that is a film that you made, and as a filmmaker, you're so humane and so in tune with the human condition. But in your personal life, you're a putz.
That's right.
And you know, tell us about that. Was that a challenge for you to live in that?
No, that was a gift of God, actually, because nothing is more interesting than playing someone who has this dual capacity and incapacity, who is failing constantly and trying constantly. All those scenes with Renate when he's trying to joke with her, to come have a discussion with her, to get closer to her, and fail and fail and fail. It's wonderful. He doesn't know why he fails. He doesn't know he's not capable of it. But he's capable of being very sensitive in his filmmaking. And that's interesting, and it's very common amongst directors.
You just said that he's trying to attempt to reach out to her, but he fails. And I had this argument when I first saw the film in Telluride that you give her the script because you want to connect with her. And I was arguing, no, he just wants to make a movie. He's not aware that he...
No, he's not aware. And that's more interesting, I think. He's not aware that it's, he's doing it by instinct. He's giving her this gift. But he really wants to make a movie, and he thinks he just wants to make a movie. But I mean, this sort of, the unknown, as an actor, you try to, you should know everything about the characters. No, you shouldn't, because most of us don't know half of it. And it's more interesting to play the gaps where the audience sees, they're failing,
Speaking of gaps, this movie is all about emotionality, but you leave the audience space for ambiguity in the film. And I was just curious about how this film is so directly about emotion, but then you give us space. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely. No, thank you. I hope I do. That's what I'm trying to do. There's the one piece of paper, like a yellow Post-it note, that we once put on the writing wall, Eskil Fucht and I, who I have written 6 films with, the 6 films I've directed. And it says, remember contrast. And I think that the reason that is still there is it's true for all aspects. It's true in all the things we do within the film, that you need to have a counterbalance. It's like we're in Santa Barbara, so people drink wine, right? You need acidity, so that in the wine, you need lime in the sauce, so it doesn't become just sweet and weird. So I think in cinema, sorry for using food metaphors there, but
no,
it's a bit late. I flew in. But what I'm trying to say is what you're talking about is that there's a formal ambition about creating sometimes a distance on purpose at certain moments, so that we can allow ourselves to go really into these intimate, very explicitly emotional moments, and to play that dynamic was what we were trying. Because I'm trying not to shove everything down the throat of the audience. I don't like that. I like to be invited into space where there's the possibility to think about my own life. So that's what I'm trying to offer.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back quickly to Casper Tuxen, your DP, and it's just such an intricate movie. You guys are covering such a range of time periods. We're in Deauville, we're backstage at a theater, we're all the dynamics that we talked about, the house, but you balance it all out visually, and it must have been difficult to.
Well, thank you. I think Casper Tuxen, wonderful cinematographer, we worked on The Worst Person in the World together as well. Yes. What I love about him is specifically 2 things. He's extremely attentive to light. So whatever place we film, he will always go there and, why are you tired today? No, I spent all night measuring light in the real location. He will like look at how transitional light in the night and in the morning works and try to emulate natural light experiences, because that's at the core of movies. It's the feel, again, the thing we don't talk about, but that we all understand, that a child understands when you go to the movies, is the mood, the feeling of light, So that's something he does very well. But then also, he is extremely close to the actors. And what I love about him, and I mean, I grew up on film sets. You've shot, 150 films? So you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes there's a lot of macho bullshit going on in film sets. There's a lot of people that lift metal and rah and stuff. And, and you need those strong people, but you need to make sure that the technical staff and the cinematography department, that they're really kind to the actors and create a safe space where they feel that they can take risks and be seen and experienced in their vulnerability. So I think Casper's amazing at that. He leads a group of tough guys and some women as well that lift metal, but he leads them in a very gentle and supportive way, I find.
And he dances with the actors. He's following us. I mean, it's not very much that is blocked in this film. We have pretty much freedom, but he follows you with the camera, and the thing is that he doesn't only follow you, he is a co-actor. So he feels the rhythm that is going on, the rhythm of the play, and dances with you. It's wonderful.
We bring him into rehearsals because we do have some rehearsals. Really getting to know each other, this talking, getting done with intellectualization, so that when we actually shoot, it's more of the event and experience, and you guys are freer. So I don't need to say so many stupid things while we shoot. I'm kind of done with it. And but Casper often films also rehearsals, so you have a rapport by the time you reach set.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and ask you a question I've been dying to ask you, because I told you I love all your films. And this film is about residual trauma that is passed on from family to family. And we talked about the echoes in the house, the memory and the visuals. There's echoes about your films in this version. You know, we see a little bit of worst person in the world. You cast the same actor that was with Renata. The narrator is your dad, your grandfather's actress from The Hunt. There's all these echoes of film, your films in this film, and my curiosity was that intentional, bringing all those echoes as well?
Yeah, it's material. Thank you for you doing incredible research, my friend. I'm very impressed. Well done, huh? No, this thing about Bente Børsum, who has the narration, the voiceover. So my grandfather, for those who don't know, he was a filmmaker, and he
premiered at Cannes.
Yeah, so to start even further back, and I think it's relevant to why I made this film. He was in the resistance during the Nazi occupation in Norway during the Second World War, and was captured. And I think after the war, to get back to life, he became a jazz musician for a while, and then made his first film, The Hunt. And he called it Jazz Movie in 1960. He had, you know, the world was different. And when he came to Cannes in 1960 and had the joy of doing something that had purpose in life after the war, and the French called it Nouvelle Vague, from New Wave. He was like, oh, we call it Jazz Movie. You know, he had no clue what was going on, but they embraced it, and it meant a lot to him and to my family. So this young actress, Bente Børsum, who had her first role in that film, I had a knee injury a few years ago slaloming, and I had 5 operations and all that. I went to this physiotherapy place, gym, kind of, to train. And who did I meet? Bente Børsum. She's now 93 years old and still around. And we became friends through that period, and I couldn't find like a role for her, but it was perfect that she was the voice that could kind of talk about the house, the 20th century, and the experience of the war, you know. So I'm really grateful she stepped up and did that with us.
And then casting the same actor from Worst Person.
Sure, Anders, who was in my 2 first films. Last time I was actually here in Santa Barbara screening was Reprise, my first film almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember it very well. And and he was in that. So we're old friends.
And then another echo is that at the end of Oslo, 31st of August, we see the house. We see this house.
Yeah, it's true.
Intentional.
Yeah. I don't know what it means, but it's material.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Yes, it's that hallway.
It echoes.
Yeah.
Stellan, you have so many beautiful moments in this movie that are wordless expression. I mean, it's full of expression. The last scene, the scene where he's listening to Ellen and her speech. You know, tell us about those moments that he gives you, where there's so much going on in there.
In a way, I wish I was working in the silent movies, because you couldn't do overact. You know, you can be how big you want, and you could have all feeling, and they have musicians on the set. It's wonderful, but I'm not. My idea of film acting is that it is depending on not what is in the text. The text is television for me, because in television you write a text that has to be, the audience has to understand what's going on, no matter who directs it, no matter who acts in it, and even if you're doing the dishes at the same time. So all the information has to be in the text. And I love when it's not, because it's when I mean, the amount of things you surprise yourself. You can't always decide what will come out, but what comes out at that between the lines and during the lines too, and in the pauses. But Joachim is he's sitting right beside the camera and he watches what you're doing when you're not talking. He doesn't go back to the monitor. And he finds out, he throws out all exposition, he throws out eventually even the plot, the narrative it throws out, and leaves what is the sort of an impressionistic essence of the film. And that is very much happening without words too.
Joaquin, the last scene did you always plot it as a silent scene? And the connection that happens between the father and daughter is silent gazes towards each other.
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. That was always planned, and was when I knew I had a film. Was when we came up with how all of the psychological dynamics of this family kind of meet in the scene, the final scene of the film he's written. The mirrorings of his daughter and his mother and all of that stuff, and then they look at each other. And we talked a lot about, everyone who made the film, that we didn't want to make a film which tied it up too neatly. And I don't, unfortunately in life, I don't think you can just have the good talk and everything is fine.
Correct. Yeah.
It's the good enough family. The family you have to accept the things you got, the things you didn't get. And those baby steps towards an acceptance of what is, I think, to me, can be moving enough, that they have made something together. And we know that they must have had some deeper conversation and spent some time together. At least they have that. And maybe there's that unspokenness that has been so difficult is more livable now. That's kind of what we thought that was enough.
Wow. Stellan, in the scenes that you share with Renata, the great Renata Rangsby, you guys don't have physical contact, but I always see you almost like reaching for her. How was that achieved? That longing, I feel like there's a pull.
Well, probably it was. A pull. I mean, she's fantastic. Every tiny feeling shows in her face, and the energy she has. And at the same time, she's not an amateur. She's a very skilled actress too. So it's wonderful working with her. I don't know. It's very interesting that you say that you feel that I'm trying to reach her. And I did not know that I did physically try to reach her, but obviously I do. And it has to do with, but you could say there's one thing that was funny with it, because we have so many scenes where we don't reach each other.
Correct. But you have the scene, the smoking, the cigarette that you touch.
Except one scene that is silent, and that's when we're smoking outside. And that's, poof, there's a little connection. And suddenly you understand the possibilities of that relationship.
There's so many. Tell us about. There's so many stories. There's so many characters, and you balance it all so well. I mean, even characters that are first, I say she's an outsider. I'm referring to Ellen. I mean Ellen.
Els.
And then all of a sudden, she becomes the linchpin that pivot. Brings this family together. The daughter, the other sister, she has reverse roles with her older daughter. Now she's the caregiver. It's so intricate, all the relationships. How was it for you to manage?
That was fun. It's tricky to make a polyphonic story like this, but it's really fun.
You call it polyphonic.
Yeah, like music. It's not like one melody.
I understand the word polyphonic, but I just wanted to clarify.
So that was how we looked at it, and they all mirror each other, and there's like a void in the middle. That's how we did, simply how we saw it. So obviously, it's a kind of a sad love story between Nora and Gustav, but it's also the mirroring of two sisters who feel so different from each other. And maybe Nora feels contempt for her younger sister because she has a more bourgeois life that the bohemian older sister feels that is boring and a repetition of the dysfunctionality, but actually she's longing for that sense of home, after all, we learn. And the younger sister who didn't want to be an actress, and probably Elle was a child actor as well, so they mirror each other. And Elle is obviously mirroring Renate because she's forced unknowingly into a role of a daughter that is a void in his life, you know. So all of this stuff was kind of interesting to play with. But I have to say that the actors have been very, very important in creating that balance, that they have been able to find the tone, collaborate, take the time to do rehearsals, and then Eskil and I were able to, you know, refine the script after the rehearsals, change things around, take away a lot of exposition and dialogue because they're so good, I didn't need it anymore, you know?
That's great.
So that gave me faith, and yeah, we started writing it for Stellan and Renate. That was the starting point of making this film.
And how did it feel, Stellan, that he wrote this piece for you?
Oh, it was very comfortable. For the first time. No, but it was wonderful. It's very seldom that you get such a good role and it's written to you. And if there was something that was uncomfortable about it, that didn't fit, I could tell Joachim and he could fix it. He was a very good tailor, you know. Because, no,
Well, one of the things I love about this actor is his musicality. He develops this like cadence when he acts and he speaks. Did you, when you were writing the script, were you listening to his rhythms, to his musicality?
I think that comes later, but I was aware of that aspect in his performance, you know. But I think it's something that develops in you, and I try to capture, and the editing, of course, refines that. I call him Mr. Cinema, because you have, for two reasons. One is that you have all the tricks in the book. I think on a bad day with a shitty director and a bad screenplay, you can probably make pretty good cinema. Like, he's got all the tricks. But so what we were talking about, honestly, was letting go of a lot of tricks and being vulnerable and messy and going to a deeper place. And you did that too. But the other reason I call him Mr. Cinema is that I have this speech in the morning for the whole team, and I prep them on the contents of the day. This is what these actors will go through. This will be difficult for them. Help me be co-directors. You know, that little pep talk in the morning. And usually I haven't had any actors in my 20-year career be present at those talks. But Stellan, he hates being in the trailer. So he comes in first on set in the morning and like says hello, hello, hello to everyone and hugs the camera team and talks to the, you know, everyone. So you were there when I did my morning talk. So you were part of the team in the most profound way. Like as if there was no divide between performers and the technical staff, you know. I think that's wonderful.
But it's a safety thing for me also to feel. I had camera fright for a couple of years, and I could not perform in front of the camera, and it was terrible. And the only way to find that I was safe and that I had the power to act was to be safe and to make sure that everybody around me were friends, and they all want me to be good, and we're doing this together. Yeah, and then I grew, and I could be how big as you want.
Joaquin, when you were talking earlier about the sister relationship, I have to ask you about their breakthroughs moment, them in the bed, and it's such a, talk about a movie that is people unable to touch each other, to communicate, to connect, and that's such a beautiful, beautiful connection that they have.
Oh, thank you. No, that was some great days on set shooting that part of the film with the two sisters, kind of finding a deeper understanding of each other and who they've been for each other. The scene actually ends when Renate is on the bed, Inga is on the floor, And Renata, asks why come we're so different. You've managed to create a home for yourself. And the younger sister says, you were there for me. And it became so emotional that I said to Inga, who's on the floor, I usually don't talk during takes, but I was right next to the camera and I could feel her deep love for her sister. And I said, get into bed and hug her, which wasn't planned. And Inga got into bed and hugged Renata and completely improvised, said, I love you, which is powerful as hell. I would never dare write that because I would think it would be cheesy or something. And she just said, I love you. And Renata, who's such a skilled actor, completely in character, replies with a little reservation, me as well. Well, I love you too. Like the little reservation that Nora obviously would have, even though she knows it's important to now say it. And I love that. And I was kind of scared after that day. I thought, I love that moment. But am I being blinded by the situation? But then I came to the editing room where our wonderful editor, Olivier Bugui-Coutet, who I've worked with for years and years, since film school, all the features I've done. And he had chosen that for his first assembly. He said, there's only one take where this happens, but I really like it. And I was like, great. Okay, so it's not only me. And I'm very happy about that moment. And it was not planned.
Beautiful. Tell me about the importance of seeing the visual language of Borg. We have the film within a film, and you change the visual language, it becomes Borg's visual language. And, and imagine it's Tarkovsky or some sort of Eastern European genius working.
No, so again, contrast. Since we are, I guess, allowing your character to not be such a nice person all the time, at least I had to make a good piece of movie in there, so we believe he's a good director, right? So in the writing room, I'm like, we're coming up with the German soldiers, and we'll be inside a moving train, and we'll see inside, outside, and the little young girl will weep on cue, and a couple of months later, I had to make that. I was like, whew, that was fun. But it was really a lot of rehearsals. And Ida, the young girl of 9, is just remarkable.
And how did you get her to?
She cries.
Oh, okay. That's on command.
Yeah, no. Well, we train and we honestly on the day, my job is to sit with her and say, let's see what happens. And I trained her, but she was actually already there as an actor. And we talk about fishing. And I say, don't push it. You don't know if an emotion will bite, but if you get that big fish into the boat, make sure you handle it, Let's see what happens. And then suddenly there was a take, and I saw it happening. And she caught a big fish, and she got very emotional. It's a dramatic scene for a child to play also. And don't underestimate in creative work imagination. We talk a lot about, because it becomes a virtue to talk about the biographical and the real, but the imagined is also a part of our reality. And kids know this, so children can open up to a situation and really be in it in a deep way. And that's what she did, and that was such a joy to work with her.
In your film, one of your themes is that art heals, and you walk the talk. Going back to the language, the cinematic language that Borg has spoken about, the last scene is shot completely Borg style. With one take, you even used the dolly track, which must have been really hard to finagle with all those doors opening, etc. You directed that, Stellan, right?
Yeah.
Since it was Borg's film.
No, but it was it's the fantastic thing. I saw my film that I made 50 years ago. That was my last film, and with a young girl, and it was beautiful. It was like an Eastern European film from the 60s, like Miklos Jansko from Hungary or something. But the last scene I didn't see actually, because I was sitting outside by the monitor, so I had I couldn't see it.
But from your end, that must have been a really intricate moment, because you're using the dolly and all these doors, and it's a
but it's the same. Oslo August 31st also has like a 9-minute oneer at the end, and I enjoy that. But the thing is, I'm not a purist. You know, I often at Cannes, I see some directors who are very consistent in their language, and all their scenes are oneers, or it's a specific, they don't change lens, you know, and I admire them. Like Mikael Haneke thinks it's vulgar to change lens in the scene. He said this. I'm messy. I like to change language, to play around and appropriate each beat to that emotional sensitivity of that moment with the actors. I like shot reverse. I like to be straight in the eye line and cut between two faces. And then I like for a moment there to be something without cuts. But I try to stay away from the idea of this kind of consistency and vision and the push-ups of showing that I can, I'm sure I can do it. But what's most interesting is that human contact, you know, and being close to Stellan and doing a close-up and seeing something that he shares with us.
But there's a clarity of vision in you, in all of your films, especially in this film. There's a clarity of vision, and I was relishing in the fact that the characters are fuzzy. They don't know what they want. They don't know how to get what they want. But then here's the story that actually is clear forward. You know what I'm talking.
No, thank you. No, that's I mean, I'm yearning for clarity. I don't try to be vague. You know, I really want there to be clarity about something. But the characters are complex. Life is messy. You know, so I try to be clear about that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last question is about the music. In your movies, music is so important, and then you start the film with Dancing Girl, you know, the
Terry Callier,
and then you end up with Canuck
Chase by Labicifre,
and it's soul folk music. Yeah. You know, tell us about your music choices.
For this one, I thought those two artists, Terry Callier, Chicago, early 70s, around, you know, Minnie Riperton, that kind of crowd. And then at the end, Labicifre, kind of a little bit later, but same era, 70s in London. Both of them very lush productions, very harmonic and melancholic and sweet in a way, but with the core of this sort of soul voice that they both have. And I thought to bookend the film with that was kind of the right way to go.
Great.
I was super grateful that they let us use their music.
Yeah. Well, before you guys leave, I want to tell you, Stellan, that we announced your tribute today. And then, you know, I've been doing this for 24 years and never have, on the same day that I announced one of our big honorees for the festival, that the person is present, which it's amazing. And in particular, because it has been a long dream of mine to honor you. You have been such an inspiration to us all. You mean the world to us cinematically, and to be able to honor you is just a long, just in gestation dream finally come true. So thank you. Well, thank you
very much.
Thank you. And thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. And